Elias woke to a world that felt both familiar and utterly strange. The last thing he remembered was the quiet hum of his own small apartment, the soft ticking of a clock, and the warm comfort of solitude. Now he lay on a bed made of what seemed like crystal and light, in a room bathed in colors that had no names in any human language. The walls pulsed gently as if breathing, and the air shimmered with soft luminescence. Shadows moved like slow, liquid waves, yet none cast by any visible object. Elias sat up, his heart pounding. Where was he? How had he come here? Before he could gather his thoughts, a sound like the ringing of distant stars filled the room, soft yet commanding. And then there she appeared, Queen Lyra. She was the most breathtaking being Elias had ever seen. Her skin glimmered with hues of silver and violet, catching the ambient light as though it belonged to another sun. Her eyes, vast and deep like galaxies, held both authority and a quiet sorrow. She walked toward him with a grace that seemed to bend the space around her, every step echoing not in sound but in resonance. "You are awake," she said, her voice soft yet carrying an undeniable power. It reverberated in his chest, stirring feelings he could not name. I don't understand," Elias stammered, rising to his feet. "Where am I? How did I get here?" "What do you mean?" "You do not need to remember. The bond is older than memory, older than the stars themselves. Your heart and mind have chosen to join with mine, whether you are aware or not. How could this happen? You were always meant to be part of this world, part of my life, part of what is to come." I think you're insane," he said, more to give himself courage than to accuse her. "I don't even know you, I don't know this place, I just want to go home." A strange warmth spread through his chest, and he noticed a faint glow on his wrist. Looking closer, he saw a sigil etched into his skin, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. It was beautiful, intricate, and undeniably real. What is this?" he asked, pointing. "It is your bond," Lyra said simply. "It connects us heart to heart, mind to mind, across worlds. You cannot remove it, and it will not fade." Lyra stepped closer, her hand hovering near his. "You can, you will, but first you must understand who I am and who you have become by being here. My realm is fragile, held together by forces you cannot yet see. You are part of its balance now. Your awakening is not just for you, Elias, it is for all who live under the skies of my world." "How can I be part of this?" Fear, awe, and a reluctant fascination wove together inside him. As he grappled with his thoughts, Lyra turned and gestured toward the window, or what he assumed was a window. Outside, the world stretched in impossible beauty. Floating mountains drifted through clouds of violet mist, rivers of liquid light wound between forests that glowed softly. Creatures, ethereal and strange, moved gracefully among the trees, watching with eyes that gleamed like crystals. "This is my world," Lyra said quietly, almost reverently. "And soon it will be yours too. You will see the wonders and the dangers. You will feel the weight of what must be protected, and you will learn the meaning of love that is not born of comfort, but of duty, of courage, of the heart's deepest strength." "You do not have to understand all of it yet," Lyra said, as if reading his thoughts. "But you must awaken fully. The bond has begun, and it is waking you, Elias. Soon the dreams will come, and they will show you who you truly are meant to be." The sigil pulsed again, faster this time, almost as if it were calling him, guiding him. A sense of destiny pressed down on him, heavy but not unwelcome. "What happens if I refuse?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lyra looked at him with unflinching honesty. "Refusal is impossible. The bond is older than choice. But how you embrace it, that is yours." The chamber shivered as though the building itself were aware of his presence, aware of the bond. The lights flickered and the colors danced faster, almost in a heartbeat rhythm. Lyra's eyes met his, steady and certain. "Do you feel it? That is the world reaching out to you. It is alive, Elias. It has recognized you as its own. And now so have I." The fear and awe collided inside him, and something unnameable stirred, a fragile thread of trust, curiosity, and something more profound, something he might later call destiny. He looked down at the sigil on his wrist, pulsing warmly against his skin. It was a mark of inevitability, a sign that his life had changed forever. And whether he liked it or not, he was no longer merely human. He was part of her world, part of her story, and part of a bond older than memory. For the first time, he dared a question that sounded almost like hope. "Next, you will begin your journey with me." The story had begun. The world outside the crystalline chamber was alive in a way Elias could never have imagined. The sky shimmered with shifting colors, deep violets, molten golds, and the soft green of unseen auroras. The floating mountains that rose and drifted through violet mist were crowned with forests that glowed faintly, their leaves moving as if breathing. Lyra led Elias through a hallway of translucent walls, each step echoing like a soft melody. He tried to take in everything, but his mind spun. Every corner of this palace was unlike anything on Earth. Furniture that seemed to float just above the floor, lights that bent around shapes like liquid, and doors that opened into rooms that seemed to stretch beyond the walls. "Where are we going?" Elias asked, his voice hesitant. "To understand your place here," Lyra replied. Her eyes, calm and infinite, watched him with a mixture of patience and expectation. "You must see what this world needs from you and why your presence is vital." Elias stopped in his tracks, stunned. Some had wings like gossamer silk, others moved on limbs that bent in ways human anatomy could never allow, yet none seemed threatening. They were calm, curious, respectful. "These are my people," Lyra said. "They are the heart of this realm, and they watch closely. They know you are here, and they wait for you to understand your bond with me and with them." "You must learn their ways," Lyra continued. "The survival of this realm depends on it. There are forces here you cannot yet see, forces older than stars, older than your own memories, and they are awakening. It is a fragile balance, and it reacts to bonds like ours. You are not just a visitor, Elias. You are part of this world now, and if you fail to understand it, it may reject you." Floating rivers of light wound between the forests below, and strange birds with wings like stained glass drifted through the glowing fog. Mountains floated in midair, held aloft by currents of unseen energy. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly alien. "You will need to walk among my people," Lyra said. "Learn their ways and understand the energy that binds all of us. Only then will you see why the bond between us exists. Not for your strength, not for your skill, but because your heart can balance the forces of this world. It is a gift and a responsibility." Leaves turned toward him, colors shifting as though acknowledging his presence. A soft hum filled the air, vibrating through his chest and his bones. "You feel it?" Lyra asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elias nodded. I think so. It's like the world is alive, like it's breathing with me. To survive here, to help my people, you must learn to trust the bond. It connects not just us, but you to everything in this world. Without it, you will be lost." At first he recoiled, but Lyra's hand on his arm steadied him. "You are seeing the history of this realm," she said. "All that has been, all that is, and all that could be. Do not fear it. You are part of it now, and it will shape you as much as you shape it." Elias learned to move with the forest, to sense the currents of energy that flowed through every living thing. He felt the bond with Lyra growing stronger, not through desire or affection, but through shared understanding and reliance. At one point, they reached a pool of water so clear it reflected the sky perfectly. Elias knelt beside it, and for a moment he saw not just his reflection, but a vision of himself transformed. He was no longer just human. He was a part of this world, his body and mind resonating with energy he could not name. "This is your choice," Lyra said, standing behind him. "To accept this, to embrace it, or to resist. You cannot leave, but you can shape what you become. That is all I ask for now. In time, you will understand more than you ever could imagine. There are forces that have watched us, waiting. They do not understand the bond yet, and they will test it. But they sense the bond, and they are cautious." At last, they reached the palace, the glowing sigil on Elias' wrist pulsing in unison with the walls themselves. Lyra led him to a balcony overlooking the floating mountains and luminous forests. The sight was breathtaking, almost overwhelming. "You see now," she said softly, "why your presence matters. The bond is not just between us. It is between you and everything that lives here. The balance depends on it." And yet, as he gazed at the alien skies, a quiet fear lingered in the back of his mind. The forest, the creatures, the currents of energy, they all seemed to watch him now, expectant. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The bond, the world, and the queen would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Lyra placed her hand on his shoulder, her eyes meeting his. "You have taken the first step," she said. "But the trials are just beginning. Soon you will face challenges that will demand courage, trust, and understanding, and only then will you truly awaken." Perhaps he could survive this world. Perhaps he could belong here. Perhaps he could even protect it. The night deepened over the floating forests and mountains. Stars shimmered in impossible constellations, and somewhere deep in the currents of the realm, forces stirred, sensing the bond between the human and the queen, forces that would not remain passive for long. Elias drew in a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the sigil on his wrist. The bond was alive, the world was alive, and his journey, his true awakening, had only just begun. End of Part 2. The balance of the realm may soon demand courage beyond his imagination. The days, or perhaps weeks, passed in ways Elias could not measure. Time here was fluid, stretching and folding like the glowing rivers that wound through Lyra's world. Each day he walked among her people, learning their ways, their customs, their unspoken rules. Slowly the alien world began to feel less foreign, though its mysteries never ceased to astonish him. He had grown accustomed to the pulse of the sigil on his wrist, a steady rhythm that matched his own heartbeat, yet felt far older, far wiser than he could ever be. He discovered he could sense the currents of energy that flowed through the forests, the mountains, even the sky itself. And increasingly he felt Lyra's presence in ways that were impossible to describe. Not just near her, but through her, through the bond. One morning she led him to the edge of a floating plateau overlooking a valley of shimmering light. Creatures drifted in the air like living jewels, their colors shifting with the sunlight. The landscape was breathtaking, yet Elias' mind was restless. "You have learned much," Lyra said, her voice soft yet filled with power. "Yet there is still a truth you must face, a truth that will test not just your understanding, but your heart. There are ancient energies here that will test us, that will test everything we care about, and soon you will face them. Courage is stepping forward even when fear is all you feel, and love, real love, is born in that space." They descended into a valley where the forests glowed brighter, and the ground itself seemed to hum. Elias could feel the life force of the planet thrumming beneath his feet, a symphony of energy that sang directly into the bond he shared with Lyra. "This is the trial of reflection," Lyra explained. "The energies here will show you your fears, your regrets, your doubts. You must face them and understand them. Only then will you awaken fully." Around him, memories of his life on Earth flickered like fading stars. His apartment, the streets he had walked, friends he had known, moments of joy, moments of regret. And then the images twisted. Faces of people he loved, distorted by fear, disappointment, and loss. Elias staggered, his breath shallow. "No, no, I can't." "Do not run. Only by seeing it can you move forward." I'm here," he whispered to himself and to her. Slowly, the visions began to shift. Instead of despair, they showed moments of courage he had never recognized in himself. Times when he had acted with kindness, with strength, without realizing it. And then a new image emerged him, standing beside Lyra, facing a threat that seemed beyond comprehension, yet holding her hand with unwavering resolve. When the visions faded, Elias collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. He felt raw, exposed, yet strangely lighter, as if the weight of doubt had been lifted, replaced by understanding. "You have done well," Lyra said, appearing beside him, her hand brushing his shoulder. "This is only the beginning, but now you have seen not only your fears, but your capacity for courage and for love. Sometimes it is fear, sometimes it is trust, sometimes it is sacrifice. You are learning it now, you are learning yourself." A bond that transcended words, transcended species, transcended even his understanding of himself. But their trial was far from over. A sudden tremor shook the valley, and the glowing forests quivered as if sensing a threat. Shadows gathered at the edges, forming shapes that twisted and shifted in ways that made Elias' skin crawl. Creatures of the planet's own energy, guardians of the balance, had sensed the bond and now approached. "Stay close," Lyra instructed. "They will test you, but you are ready." The sigil pulsed in harmony with the creatures, with Lyra, with himself. One creature approached, its form like liquid light, shifting with every movement. Elias felt fear rise, but then Lyra's hand found his, and her presence steadied him. "Trust the bond," she said. "It will guide you." As he did, he felt the energy of the planet flow through him, mingling with the pulse of the sigil. The creature paused, as if measuring him, and then slowly bowed its form. Another followed, and another. One by one they recognized him, acknowledged the bond, and the tension eased. Elias felt a surge of triumph, of understanding, of connection that went beyond words. Lyra smiled faintly. "You see now, the bond is not weakness, nor is it a curse. It is strength. It binds us, and through it you can face anything. Only then can the bond awaken fully. You're something more, something I don't understand yet." They stood together, hand in hand, overlooking the glowing valley, feeling the pulse of the sigil, the energy of the planet, the quiet weight of destiny pressing around them. Then a sudden vibration shook the air. The forest trembled and the shadows deepened. Elia's pulse quickened. The creatures that had acknowledged him earlier now moved in patterns that suggested caution, perhaps even warning. "The trial is not over," Lyra said, her voice calm but firm. "Something is coming, and we must face it together. The bond will guide us, but only if we trust each other completely." He realized with a mixture of fear and determination that this world was testing him, not just his courage, but his heart. And he was ready to face whatever came next, because the bond pulsed stronger than ever, and he would not face the trials alone. The alien skies were alive with light and color, yet a shadow had begun to creep across them. Elias and Lyra stood atop a floating peak, overlooking the glowing forests and rivers of liquid light. The creatures that had once observed them curiously now moved with purpose, their forms coalescing into shapes both beautiful and unsettling. Something ancient, something powerful was awakening. Lyra's hand rested on Elia's shoulder. "This is the final trial," she said, her voice calm but filled with gravity. "The forces that shape this world have watched us. They will test the bond between us, and they will test you. Only together can we prevail." Fear tugged at him, but beneath it, a quiet determination rose. He had faced visions of doubt. He had walked with the energy of this world. He had trusted the bond. And now he would see how far it could go. The first test came without warning. A massive wave of energy swept across the plateau, distorting the air, bending the light, and warping the forms of everything around them. Elias staggered but did not fall. Lyra's hand found his, and her presence steadied him, grounding him. "Trust the bond," she whispered. He closed his eyes, letting the pulse of the sigil guide him. Energy flowed through him, not chaotic, but ordered, balanced, as if the planet itself spoke through the bond. He felt Lyra's mind, her thoughts, her fear, and her courage intertwining with his own. And in that moment he understood he was not facing the trial alone. The energy wave formed shapes, visions of what could be, what had been, and what might come. Shadows of failure, shadows of loss, shadows of endless despair. Elias felt them pressing in, and for a moment his knees buckled. Then he remembered the valley, the first trial, the creatures that had tested him, the bond that had guided him. He squeezed Lyra's hand, feeling her strength flow into him. "We face it together," he said, his voice firm. Lyra smiled, a mixture of relief and admiration in her eyes. "Yes, together." He focused on the bond, on the energy flowing through him, on the pulse of the sigil. A wave of light erupted from his chest, radiating outward, touching the shadows, calming them, aligning them with the rhythm of the world. The creatures paused, sensing the harmony, and the shadows dissolved into streams of gentle light. The planet itself seemed to exhale, and Elias realized with wonder that his courage, his trust, and his bond with Lyra had not just protected them. They had strengthened the balance of the realm. "You've done it," Lyra said softly, her eyes shimmering with pride and emotion. "You have faced the heart of this world and found your place within it." Elias realized that it had not just connected them, it had transformed him. He was no longer merely human. He was part of this world, part of its energy, part of Lyra, and she was part of him. For a long moment they simply stood together, hands clasped, feeling the rhythm of the planet, of the bond of each other. And then Lyra spoke, her voice carrying both relief and wonder. "Elias, the trial is over. The bond has awakened fully. You have proven yourself not just to me, but to this world. You have become its protector and its heart, as I have become yours." "With you." The creatures of the realm gathered, forming patterns of acknowledgement, gratitude, and recognition. Elias could feel it all through the bond, the harmony of life, the strength of the world, the pulse of hope. But as the calm settled, a subtle ripple passed through the energy. A distant pulse, faint but insistent, reached them. Elias looked at Lyra. "The universe is far larger than this world," she said quietly. "And our journey is only beginning. This bond, this love, it is strong, but there will always be forces beyond us. Yet together we will face them." And he knew that whatever came next, he would not face it alone. As the twin moons rose over the horizon, casting silver and violet light across the floating mountains, Elias felt a deep sense of peace. The bond pulsed steadily on his wrist, a reminder of the connection that had changed everything. "You know," he said quietly, almost to himself, "I thought I woke up alone, but I was never alone. I was meant to wake up here with you." The rivers of light flowed in perfect harmony, the forest shimmered with life, the floating mountains drifted silently, and the creatures watched, calm and reverent. Elias and Lyra stood hand in hand, the bond between them stronger than ever, their hearts beating in unison with the pulse of the world. "I can feel it," Elias said softly. "I can feel everything. The world, the bond, you." Elias realized that he had become part of something larger than himself, a force of balance and love, a guardian of a world that was beautiful, fragile, and magnificent. And yet, even in this moment of triumph, the bond pulsed with a quiet reminder. The universe was vast, and their journey was far from over. There would be challenges, trials, and mysteries yet to face. But they had learned the greatest truth of all. Together they could endure anything. Elias took a deep breath, the alien air filling his lungs, the energy of the world coursing through him. He looked at Lyra, her eyes shining with light and emotion, and he smiled. "I am ready," he said. "Whatever comes next, we face it together. Always." And as the first stars of the night blinked into existence, Elias understood the depth of the bond, the meaning of the trials, and the promise of what lay ahead. He had awakened not just to a new world, but to a new self, a new love, and a future filled with infinite possibilities. The universe waited, vast and mysterious, and together Elias and Lyra were ready to meet it.